HoopsU. I'm Andy Katz. Pleased to be joined by my colleague and partner from Big Ten Network, Raphael Davis. And we got a special guest here from the University of Illinois, Luke Goode. Luke, first off, so thrilled that you're back healthy because that was a major problem a year ago, obviously, for you and the team. I did your Kansas game, saw how well you guys played, especially late in that game. And then we saw how well you guys played in the Eastern Illinois opener. We were in the studio for that, watching that. Then you got Oakland and then Marquette, and then it just keeps going. Let's get an assessment from you first, where you think this group is at this early in the season.
Yeah, I think we're in a great spot. We have all of our fundamentals in so far, all the stuff that, Coach Brad has carried over year to year, and now we're just getting into game-based stuff. So all the fundamental, defensive principles that we have, offensive principles, our base offense is really in, and we're in a good spot, honestly. We were able to beat Kansas, which is an exhibition. It didn't count, but at the same time, we beat a good Kansas team. And then we just started off the season 1-0. So to beat a number one team in the country in a preseason game when, not everything's put in, and then, start the season 1-0, it's always a good start. So we're in a good spot.
You guys look like, this may sound weird, but you guys look like you like each other a little bit more this year. Look like a cohesive group. What's been some of the biggest changes, or what's different about this year's team?
Yeah, we just got a bunch of older veteran guys. I think that's one of the biggest differences. Last year I was kind of more in a stand back and watch role, being injured, being out all season. Well, for most of the season, I was able to kind of see it from an outside perspective. And, when there's a lot of young guys, there's so much learning going on. And we didn't have many guys that have been in the program for a while last year. Coleman was really the only one that had a tenure in the program enough to be able to lead those young guys. And with me out, I couldn't use my vocal leadership as well as I wanted to. And this year, these guys have been in situations, in the Kansas game, you have Marcus in there late in the game, Justin, 2 fifth-year seniors, Quincy had a great game. And then in the Eastern Illinois game, me and Coleman being able to be in there and really help out, just what we do. So having that leadership and, the oldness of our team, I think is a big difference, and people just get it more, if that makes sense.
How big is it?
Go ahead.
My bad, Andy. Go ahead.
No, go. Well, what I was going to say is, I'm curious because this is certainly newer. I don't think Raphael had to deal with this, certainly not, and they don't really much at Purdue. I'm just curious, when you get Quincy coming in, this is his third school, Justin from Utah Valley, Damas from Southern Illinois, and then the freshmen, but these guys, especially the guys that are the transfers, what goes on with you, with Coleman, with Terrence, and their transfers too in danger, but when they come into your group, what actually is said, if anything, of like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is the way we like to do things. We like you. We want you. We need you. But you can't come in with, 10 other agendas here and different ways you do things. Like, we got to be like this. How does that even start?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's one of those things that it's the Illinois basketball culture. Like, we win here. That's our thing. Since Coach Brad's been here, I think the last 5 years, most Big Ten wins, like, Illinois is a winning program. So, when you come into the program, like, we're going to do it this way. And if you don't do it this way, you can leave. Like, people get so caught up in, all the transfers and stuff. But, if you do things the right way, it's gonna end up, you're going to be a winning team and a winning program. And, I think Coach Brad has done a great job with that. But, when those guys get in, it's like, this is what we do. This is how we do it. And they just go on from there. The guys that catch on. And the guys that don't are just kind of, just left to the side in a sense. But, our culture is so good here. And, we did something in the preseason this year that really helped our team. I think even the Spain trip was huge. I don't know if you guys, talk to many college basketball players about the foreign trips, but just spending time like outside of the court with the guys, there's just so much bonding. And, it's a big fundamental stepping stone into, a big season, bringing those new guys in so early before the actual season.
Nah, because that is big time, Luke, because we dealt with it at Purdue, Andy. After my freshman year, we brought in Sterling Carter, Eric Peck, and we had some returning guys, brought some freshmen, and we didn't have the leadership to get those guys to understand what Purdue was like. I can remember one of those guys scheduling class during a practice, thinking they can get over on coach, and they kind of trying to play that game. And we came in last place in the Big Ten that year. And then that next season, we had 5 freshmen come in. John Natius ended up transferring in from Colorado State. And me and John Natius, because I was a captain at this point, before John Natius came to campus, we working out together. Like when Johnny Hill transferred in that next year, he transferred into Purdue from Texas Arlington, I think. He stayed on my couch for the first 2 weeks while he was getting his apartment set up. So like sometimes it's like last season for Illinois, I'm like on the outside looking in, kind of on the inside looking out. It's like I don't think they had those guys go talk to Terrence Shannon or sit down Matthew Meyer or because they didn't have that leadership return. And Luke was younger. Coleman was returning, but Coleman wasn't playing. So his voice wasn't really that strong for those new guys where they come in, they feel like they're more accomplished than him. And he maybe didn't feel like he had the voice to kind of, you know what I mean? So I think that is important. When you don't have that leadership to get those transfers and let the freshmen know. Because I remember setting the table for Dakota Mathias, PJ Thompson, Isaac Haas, Vince Edwards, that class. Before they got to campus, I'm texting them in March and May, and I'm telling them what it's like. And that first workout of the summer, this is when I knew we had turned it around. The first workout of the summer, we were supposed to be 15 minutes early, and they understood that if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late, you run. Those dudes was an hour early. They finished their workout before Kendall Stevens, Basil Smother, and Bryson Scott even got to the weight room. Next thing you know, those guys are starting. Those guys had transferred. So I think when you set the players kind of got to set the table. It's not necessarily the coaches. It's the players, and that's what I think you guys have done. Like Terrence Shannon, not being long-winded, but Terrence Shannon now can be a voice. He's been there. He understands it. He can cuss guys out. Guys got to listen to him. So like Marcus Domask and those guys, they got a leader to follow. I don't think last year they had a leader to follow.
Yeah, you're right. It's one of those things too. Like when you get it from a teammate, it's easier to deal with. You know, it's like it's your guy, like it's your brother. You work out with them all summer. You go through all this stuff during the off season. You know, it's tough. You know, you've been through it. As college basketball player, it's not easy. It's tough stuff. So, you know, to go through that with somebody and then to have them lead you instead of a coach that's yelling at you the whole time, like, you know, the players and the teammates are there to push each other, really. And the coaches are there to enforce what they believe in. That's really what it is.
Because one thing that stood out to me last season, bro, just like looking at y'all, and I'm not trying to stay on last season, but this year I don't see it like an energy drink situation. Like you're not missing practice for certain stuff. Like certain things the players are going, you know what I mean? Like so then when the young guys see older guys do certain stuff and still be able to play, it bleeds into just the culture of the team. And like you said, you got older guys, they know how to handle themselves on the road, they've been around the block, and they just have they're trying to not that they have something to prove, they want to win. Like Marcus Domask could have went overseas and got paid just with his skill set, you know what I mean? But he wanted to win games, get to the tournament. So it's a little different mindset.
For sure, yeah.
So Luke, a year ago, all the talk was we needed shooting. And, you know, you were discussed a lot as the guy who wasn't able to play. Now that you're back and there is better shooting, how much do you feel almost in a weird way less pressure? Because I felt like last year they kept waiting for you to get healthy, to make shots. And from what we've seen so far, it doesn't always have to be you. You make shots, that's great. That's your role. But there are other guys that also can make shots to not feel the weight and the bricks on your back.
Yeah, it's super nice. You know, people get so consumed with the shot making, but it's also the spacing aspect of it. Terrence is one of the best downhill players in the country. By far, it's not even close. So when you got Marcus standing in the corner versus a guy that shot, you know, 25% from three standing in the corner like last year, it just makes a difference. That guy can't help over. That guy's not on help side. He's a step outside of where he was last year. It's that defender, that extra defender that they can't help as much anymore. You know, frees up Dane in the post, gives Coleman options to pick and pop. You know, guys can't help off of, you know, say X player and help off of Coleman, you know, on the backside. It's really nice in that aspect. And then, you know, like you said, though, just knocking down shots is huge. When Terrence gets downhill, you know, Ty's great at doing it, you know, getting in the paint and spraying out. And, you know, we're going to shoot the ball, you know, 35% from three as a team, 35 to 40% from three as a team this year. I think we have the capability to do that. We got a lot of guys that can make shots. You know, Draven showed it against Eastern Illinois. Marcus is a proven shooter. I'd like to say myself as I'm a proven shooter, but Coleman even hitting shots. So we got a lot of guys that can step up and hit shots at a high clip.
Thanks. And when you guys are in these early games, like at Eastern or like and Oakland's pretty good, they're gonna switch up defenses, they're gonna zone some, they're gonna man some, and all your guys the stuff isn't in yet. You know what I mean? Like all the counters aren't in yet. You may know them from last year, but they just haven't been put in. What's been some of the early focuses from Coach Underwood? What's kind of been the point of emphasis? Because sometimes it isn't really the X's and O's right now.
Yeah, it's just staying in our system, really. Last year when we got caught up, when our offense, we go on long scoring droughts, it'd be because we would get out of our system. Guys would just break stuff off, do stuff that wasn't in the system. So this year it's really focusing on, if we run offense for 20 seconds and the shot clock's at, 8 to 10 seconds, it's not bad. We don't have to panic and, throw up a shot. Just keep running the offense, stay in the system, breaking stuff off really got us in trouble. We get down to 12, 13 on the shot clock, call for high ball screens, just keep playing. Like that's our thing this year. We got so many guys that are capable, So and when it gets down even further, get the ball to Terrence and stuff like that. But in terms of just the offense and, the defense, that's got to be our identity. So we use Ken Palm rankings a bunch and like comparison wise. So, our defensive efficiency's got to be up there. And that's one of our big focuses as well.
All right. So Rapheal's been dancing around it, and I don't want you to peel back the onion of what happened last year, but I'm curious, in today's climate, help us out.
Yeah.
How do you read a team, the body language, whether or not they're together or they are dysfunctional? Like, what are you looking for as an opposing guy, or even if you're just watching the way we do it? What do you see? What do you try to look to say whether they're together or no, they're not?
What I look at is always off the court, body language off the court. On the court, the guys are going to fake it. They got the energy, they got everything. They're ready to go on the court. It's when they get subbed out on the sideline, how they react to coaches and stuff like that. That's the real telltale sign of, if guys are locked in. It's cool to show emotion on the sideline and stuff, but if you get subbed out, they go on a run, there's no standing up, clapping for your teammates. You walk off the sideline or in the huddle, you don't have your arms around each other in the huddle and just kind of standing to the side. That's a telltale sign. Like when you got a team that's locked in, I mean, our huddles this year, it's been great. Guys get subbed out, they're jogging out, they're standing up every time somebody else scores. That's a connected team. Guys are in the huddle, coaches talking, got arms around each other. It's not a bunch of individuals, it's one team. That's kind of something that, you can really base a team's chemistry off of, is just the off the court reactions and body language, in my opinion.
Hey, one last thing. I'm curious.
I agree.
And I agree with you. When all the NIL stuff was going on, everyone assumed that if you weren't the star, it was going to cause fractions in the locker room. I haven't seen that yet. I mean, I don't know. Maybe stuff happened to Carolina last year when they didn't play well and there was a lot of money going around. But what's it like to be on the inside in this new era of NIL, where the reality is player X may get more than player Y, and that's sort of the world we're in right now?
Yeah, it's one of those things that, at least in our program, you don't really talk about it. You're happy for the guys; they deserve to get paid. And you got to realize at the end of the day, like, we live in a society where people get paid more than others for what they do. We all do the same thing, but some guys do it at a higher level than others, and that's just the reality of it. So, it'd be a joke if I went and expected the same as Zach Edey or Terrence. You know what I'm saying? So, like, guys just recognize that. They know, like, listen, like, we're here to win basketball games, and the more we win, the more successful the team's going to be, and, the more money's going to come to us, honestly. Like, next year there's going to be more people that, want to donate to a team that went to the Final Four versus a team that didn't even make the tournament. So it's one of those things, like, we don't really talk about it. It's just kind of, you do your thing on the court, and that stuff just comes with it, honestly.
And then if you want more money, I mean, get in the gym.
Yeah,
get in the gym, work your game. Because
wake up at 6 a.m. and get a workout in before practice. Yeah.
Because like we used to like I mean, I played in the days of NIL. It just wasn't NIL. But I mean, like those would be the teams where you see dysfunction. Those would be the teams where on the low, X, Y, Z maybe got a little bag, and then somebody found out that didn't. And then you would see some friction, stuff like that, or with the AAU. Now it's more fair and balanced. And then I will say too, like, I know how guys are in the locker room. You ask a guy what they get, and they gonna lie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it's not like
no doubt.
more than what they get. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, no, like what Luke is saying, like now, like when you like with your type of like I've heard you say a few things, and like we've been talking, like Terrence is our guy. Like we can't expect to be outrageous in NIL. Like when locker rooms have those type of realistic leaders, that's when it feeds into that's when the culture is set. That's when the young guys know what to expect. That's when the freshmen like Dre. I know Dre. I've been around Dre. You know what I mean? So like, but you guys can give him a realistic expectation to where if he was in the locker room with some of the guys that I was in the locker room as a freshman, his head would maybe twisted. You know what I mean? So when you, as a young guy, you got to have good leaders, like what you're saying. Like, but my question for you is, Luke, now that you're in your third year, you was a little banged up last year. Kind of where do you see your year going? Where have you grown? What's been kind of your off-season work like?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Fort Wayne this summer, which was great. I know you were around, so you're familiar with the guys that were back
What is it
training.
about Fort Wayne? We got this Fort Wayne area.
That's what I'm saying. We got some
got the dogs out of Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
And then
So
the
I got
Mastodons
to
going
train.
to win too.
Yeah, the Mastodons.
So I got to train all summer with Caleb first, Fletch, Connor, and then they actually have an agency that works out of there, overseas agency. So a bunch of former college guys, D1 guys were out there all summer too. So you get good runs every day, good workouts, and you get to expand your game, which is super nice. It's a nice convenience to have. But you good. But just like in terms of my game, I just really expanded on my conditioning. I want to be able to run up and down the floor and expand the floor. I think that's one of the biggest things for me last year to this year is being able to guard. First of all, I've been able to switch onto smaller guys this year at a better rate, and then just running, getting the open shots. I've watched a lot of stuff. Sasha was great at it. Stefanovic, he was always running lanes, always looking for trail threes and stuff off of actions, and not as much stuff is going to be run for me as Terrence and stuff like that. But I got to put myself in a position to be able to score, and that's really what it is. So just being able to make plays off the catch as well, just work on all that type of stuff.
I got one last thing for you. For those that fully don't grasp the absolute grind of the Big Ten, we're not there yet, but a couple of weeks we'll have games in December, and then obviously in January and beyond. Tell me, what's it like when you got to go through, whether it's East Lansing, Mackey, Bloomington, now Maryland and Rutgers. I mean, just every game is an absolute battle. What's that like?
Yeah, it's a grind. It's exactly how you described it. Every team in the Big Ten is good, honestly. There's maybe a few teams year in and year out that aren't as successful, but you can lose any game. And that's really the fact of it. Like you could go somewhere to a bottom 5 Big Ten team, and like last year with Ohio State, they were a bottom 4 Big Ten team, and we went there with an opportunity to put ourselves in position to win a Big Ten championship after Purdue lost 2 in a row or whatever happened last year. We lost that game, and that's how the Big Ten is. So it's tough. I mean, you can never go into a game thinking like we have this one. And there's good players on every team. It really is a grind, and schoolwork with that is it kind of sucks having to do all that and balance all that, but the travel as well. But it's worth it. It is, because there's nothing beats running out to a gym full of 20,000 people, cheering against you or cheering you on. So it's pretty surreal.
Thanks. Yep.
All right, Luke. Well, we appreciate you. We'll be watching you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it, Luke.
Yep. Nice to talk to you guys.
All right. Everyone has played in the league as we're taping this. I'm going to go first. I'm surprised on a couple things. That Wisconsin scored over 100 points. And in talking to Greg Gard, he's like, we're playing more free. We're better, literally just better, deeper. So that's one. Two, I think it was fair criticism of Michigan because we didn't know.
Right.
I thought they beat a decent Asheville team handily. And McDaniel, Olivier, like those guys played well. And I think that's a plus. Purdue looked great. We'll see if that's sustainable when they go to Hawaii. On the downside, Michigan State didn't shoot the ball well at all. I'm concerned about them. I'm concerned about Indiana, even though they won. And I'm a little concerned about Northwestern, but I'm going to pause because they still got the W and it was early. But I think their game against Dayton is going to be pretty telling.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just start with my most surprising team would be Michigan. Just but it's not. I'm not surprised they won, and I know UNC Asheville was pretty good, but I mean Drew Pemmer was one of the best players in the country last year. I mean, he led the country in free throws attempted, free throws made. I mean, 19-10 guy. He got his numbers, but the Conwell made it really hard on him. I mean, Olivier took that matchup serious. They were former teammates, and you could tell he had a mature approach to it. And then the way Doug came out, and I think Doug, I've been saying all summer that Doug is the guy that's returning that no one was talking about. Because you look at his final 8 games of the season last year, he was a 14-5 guy playing with 2 NBA guys and Hunter Dickinson. So you had to see just the game slowing down for him towards the end of the year. Now he has the ball in his hand. He's confident. He's making plays. He's playing with Doug is the guy that's playing with the chip on his shoulder. He actually looks like it. He's talking to himself. He's talking to the crowd. And then Terrence Williams, it was really good to see Terrence Williams make shots. And just him having confidence early in the season be big for those guys. So I like Michigan, like Luke just said. I mean, you bring in older guys that's been around it, that has something to prove, that want to win. I think that's what you kind of see. The chemistry is there. They know how to play. They know how to read defenses. I think Purdue is more athletic than they were last year. I think with Lance Jones, he adds he's such a difference maker in the starting lineup. He gives them an added ball handler, so Fletcher Lawyer doesn't have to worry about handling the basketball as much. He doesn't have to break guys down off the dribble. Lance can get in the paint, make plays. He can get one for himself or get one for others. He takes the pressure off of Braden Smith. And then defensively, Purdue hasn't had a defensive stopper on the perimeter since Nojel Easton. I mean, it's been a long time since they've had a guy they could say, you guard him. And I think he's a guy for them. But for Indiana, I think scoring is going to be an issue. I think rebounding is going to be an issue for Northwestern. But I'm excited to see. I'm excited for tonight. I'm excited to see Michigan State get back going again. That's going to be interesting to see how Tom Izzo shook things up.
One other thing nationally, I think the top of the Big East is as good as I think we projected, because I do think UConn's just not as good, but they're Final Four good. I'm really looking forward to this Marquette Illinois game, because I think Marquette's really good, really good, and they're pretty salty, because I was at that Big East media day. They're salty about how they lost to Michigan State, after winning the Big East tournament and the Big East regular season. Creighton's going to be really good. St. John's obviously with Patino, all really good. And then the other sort of big game that happened this week was Baylor Auburn, and I was really impressed. Holloman and Walton, Jacoby Jacoby Walton, right? I'm just drawing a blank here. The freshman for Baylor.
I don't know his last name.
Anyway, he had a great game, and they're going to be good again. So, look, the competition, we're going to see a lot of these different teams. Big Ten teams are playing these teams over the course of the next couple of weeks as well. And then, of course, on Tuesday, we got Michigan State Duke. So it's going to be pretty interesting, as well as Purdue Xavier in the last year of the Gavitt games. You've got Wisconsin at Providence. Creighton's going to play Nebraska, and really looking forward to Maryland Villanova.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really good one. So a lot to look at over the next week. Where can we find HoopsU?
HoopsU, you find us on YouTube at Andy Katz. Find us on Twitter at the Andy Katz, on Instagram at HoopsU. You can follow me on Twitter at Rapheal Davis 3. Check us out. Weekly episode with players, coaches, assistant coaches, media personnel, just chopping it up about hoop. Follow us later.
And you got to subscribe.
Yep, subscribe on YouTube. We got to get us to 1,000 subscribers. I got the best content in college basketball.
All right, thank you.